I run a global mobile agency. We work across many sectors, but probably one of the sectors that we have the most experience in is the publishing sector, predominantly working with traditional and digital publishers and bringing them to the mobile space. So I think any talk on subscriptions in an international environment probably wouldn't be complete these days without a talk about the mobile sector. And what I'm going to try and cram in is, over the last 6 or 7 years that we've been working in mobile, predominantly with publishers, some of the learnings that we've actually gathered over those years and cram them into this presentation. Obviously, there's a lot more to talk about, so hopefully we can share some of those during the Q&A a little bit later on. I split the presentation into 3. I'm going to talk very briefly about the size of the opportunity. That's a very big number, 378 million. That's 378 million people globally speak English as their first language. But it doesn't stop there. If you then look at those individuals who speak English as their second language, the size of the opportunity for English publications or publications written in English on a global scale is about 1.2 billion potential readers. And the great thing about mobile is that shop window, that mobile shop window, is relatively easy to get into. Now, this is a quick screenshot that we took of the App Store in Australia 2 days ago. As you can see, number 1 in Australia is National Geographic magazine, obviously a global magazine, and number 11, just short of the top 10. It's been in the top 10 sort of backwards and forwards over the last few months, is the New York Times. So hopefully that gives you a quick snapshot of what the size of the opportunity is. But it's not as easy as that. So what I'm going to share with you now is it's probably 4 or 5 of some of the key learnings that we think you should be aware of if you're thinking about using mobile as a distribution platform for subscriptions and magazine publishing. Cultural differences, as you'd expect, is going to be a really big point that you need to be aware of. I've just pulled out 2. We could go on all day and talk about these, but if you're looking at, say, the Arab market, you're looking at Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, the guys over there, they love a free app. If you put your app in the marketplace and it's a branded app, they will download it. You'll get tons and tons and tons of downloads. You get a massive spike in terms of your position within the App Store, but you will get very few subscriptions. These guys take an awful lot of time to turn from a free user to a subscribing user. However, if you look at somewhere like the States or Canada, the guys down there will also download a free application and they will also subscribe, but they are extremely social media sensitive. They understand social media really well and they have extremely high expectations. If your app fails once, possibly twice in that market, your reviews will go from 5-star to 1-star. So you have to make sure that in the US market that your app is as solid as it possibly can be and won't be crashing. One of the other key things you need to be aware of is the operating systems. As you're probably aware, Android is the predominant operating system globally, with around about 87% of the total smartphone and tablet market. So there's a massive market there. The problem with the Android user is they download fewer apps, they pay for fewer publications and games in the mobile app space. So although the market is massive, they're harder to convert and convince. Whereas you look at the Apple market, iOS 7 that we've got up there, that's a more valuable consumer. They spend more, they download more, they subscribe more. Consequently, that is an area that the majority of publishers tend to focus on. There's another point that you need to be aware of, another operating system, and that is the Windows ecosystem. Now, if you're not aware, Microsoft purchased Nokia about 6 or 7 months ago, and Nokia, despite the fact that we were all probably carrying them Nokia phones 4 or 5 years ago, is pretty much dead within the West. Over in the likes of India and Asia and a number of other countries, the Nokia is still a far stronger phone handset. Consequently, Windows, with the money behind them, it's going to grow, and it will probably be, on comparison to the Android and the Apple publishing platforms, in the not too distant future. So whipping back to the UK, subscription models vary by country, and I've pulled out two key areas to think about here. In the UK, we're very loyal. We will, once we've been convinced that this is the publication, this is the magazine, this is the newspaper, we're happy to subscribe to. We as Brits will stick with that from a medium to long term. You tend to find 10-15% fallout at the end of each month, but that's not bad in the mobile space. However, if you then look at the US market, you have to look at a completely different model. They're more mobile savvy. They're more used to consuming free news, free information, free entertainment, and therefore you need to set your subscription prices low, and you have to look at more of a volume model. The great thing about the States, though, is it's 6-7 times bigger in terms of mobile opportunity than it is for the UK. And your ads are very important. One of the great things about publishing English language publications is that the ads, when you're running English language ads, they're self-selecting. So individuals expect to find an English language publication behind an English language ad. And if you're in France, you'll never click on an English language ad. You're predominantly going to be clicking on French ads. But the great thing about self-selecting ads is that if you're buying on a cost-per-click basis, it means that every time somebody clicks on that ad to go through to the App Store to download your app, you're only paying for that particular element rather than on a cost-per-thousand basis where you're paying for all the visibility. And really important in the mobile space, your mobile user is different to your non-mobile user. Despite the fact that you're probably shifting considerable amounts of publications off the newsstand on the high street, and you've got large amounts of users in the digital space, that doesn't translate to the user in the mobile space. Your mobile user is going to be more social media savvy. He's going to be more likely to be a male. He's going to be younger, and he's going to be tech heavy. That will change as the sector evolves, but you have to remember that if you're planning to target individuals in the mobile space, they're not likely to be the same individuals that you would target in a digital or a real-world scenario. And this is one of my biggest bugbears. You've got to get the balance right between development and marketing budgets or communication budgets. There are around 1.8 million apps available across the Android and the Apple app stores. So even if you've got a very strong brand, your consumers aren't necessarily going to A, know that you're in the mobile space, and B, even if they are, it's going to be really difficult for them to find you. One of the biggest mistakes that businesses make when they're actually building a mobile property is investing too much money in development and very little, if any, money in promotion. It's the most important element once you have your app developed, is to make sure you're going to get people to find it. And that's mobile search, mobile app store optimization, mobile SEO, display activity, mobile video promotions, and those kind of services. And when you've done all of that, the second most important thing to do is to track. There's two key things you need to put into your app from a tracking perspective. A piece of technology which will allow you to understand who's actually going into your app, what articles they're reading, what sections they're reading, how often they're reading it, how often they're coming back, if they're reading to the end of the publication, and so on and so forth. That allows you to ensure that the product you're delivering to the individuals is what they want, and you can do more of the good stuff and less of the bad. The second really important thing from a research and targeting perspective is having tracking that allows you to go back to understand where that individual came from. Did they come from search? Did they come from other publications? Did that come from advertising? And when you know that, you can then optimize. And consequently, what that means is that the advertising expenditure or your communications expenditure can be reduced and become considerably more effective. If you don't have tracking in, there's no point in actually doing any advertising. And it works. I won't share who this particular client is, but it's not a client that I've talked about today so far, because this shows you what their installation rates have been over a 12-month period. That's the big grey blob. The activations, which is the little red line at the bottom, that shows you how many people from download to actually activating, and activating is a purchase or a subscription. And then the CPA, so this is the cost per acquisition. As you can see, with any marketing campaign in the mobile space, your acquisition costs are going to be pretty large at the top at the start of the campaign. And the reason that is you try lots of different things. You spend a lot of money getting those learnings. And once you have those learnings, you then pull out all the things that aren't working and you do more of the things that are working. And in this instance, we have a cost per acquisition target of $30 for a subscription. And as you can see, for the remainder of that 12-month period, we hit it. It's really important as well to use every campaign or every activity you're doing to promote your mobile publication and treat it as a test. Test, learn and implement. Use small amounts of budget, you invest an awful lot of time on a country by country or a regional basis, and only by doing that are you going to get success. And one of the most important things you need to remember about mobile is that the mobile landscape doesn't stop evolving. The iPad is only 3.5 years old. If we were standing here in another 3.5 years' time, we'll all have different types of technology. We'll all be using different operating systems. It may be that Windows Phone is going to be the predominant mobile service within the room. We don't know. But the key with this for you as publishing businesses is not to sit back on your laurels. You have to put in place a bit of a roadmap to understand that you're going to have to put development budget in place, even if you've got the most wonderful iPad publication that people are downloading and spending money on. That may not be the case in the next 2-3 years' time. You've got to keep ahead of the competition. You've got to keep abreast of the technology. So if you do all of that kind of stuff, you're more likely to succeed. This is the Blackpool 1953 FA Cup winning squad. It took them about I'm a Blackpool supporter. When this slide was originally done, that was Liverpool raising the European Cup a few years ago. Thankfully, it's been changed back to Blackpool. That was Nino, wasn't it? And that's me. Thank you very much for listening. And if you've got any questions, we'll be fielding them in a bit. Thank you.